enough, I made sure I bought every title. I didn't miss a single one. And I started drawing comics.
Comics?
Yeah. I stopped for 10 years and did other things. I went to Vermont. I was a hippie. I was a carpenter. I was a teacher. I did stuff like that.
So you didn't do any art during that time?
I dabbled once in a while. I just dabbled, but I never tried to show anything. I just did a few, a few things. And eventually I had one of those, oh my God, I forgot to be an artist moment sometime in my early
years. You went back to art, and what was the first thing?
I just got out my old college paintings, to tell you the truth, and I took the slides into the nearest gallery, and they said, great, we'll give you a show, and I brought the paintings back in, and they looked at them again, and they said, oh, they looked much better in slides. So I tried to think of, well, this was the beginning of, by the way, during that time I'd also been working in advertising agencies, so what happened is I sort of applied some kind of a marketing sensibility to getting myself started in the art world. So I went back and basically brought them back the same paintings, repainted, but shinier.
Oh my God. Advertising, there you go.
Shinier, because everybody likes shiny things, and they loved them. That was outside of the New York view, but it certainly was in the art world.
Oh, it looks fascinating.
And actually really tried to get to do that. Initially, that was designed for Exit Art because they had a big space. But they, like I said, there's not that much support. It's not easy to get these projects done, and more or less I have to fool somebody or trick somebody in America to do it because they're worried about excess trouble, excess expenses, liability. It just is a hassle.
Well, I know the Cube, you had visitors crawling through a maze.
Yeah, they crawled through and they were videotaped by 15 different cameras. There was I had these editing switches, and as you went from one section to the next, it would videotape you. When you came out, I could hand you a video, say, you want to see your adventure through the Cube, and then they could go walk right over to the monitor and put it in and see themselves climbing through all this maze of tunnels and environment.
Love that you did at the Pierogi was We Have Mice. You lived in a 3-foot wide crawl space?
It was 18 inches.
18
well, it was basically
for 5 weeks, right? You lived in there?
Yeah. We just basically rebuilt the gallery 18 inches inside. So there was a hollow. So they had 18-inch hollow walls.
What was the idea behind that for you when you started this?
The idea was that I came back from Europe, and a friend of mine had lost his place to live, and he was living in my studio, and I came in and he was washing himself in the slop sink, like up there sitting on the counter with a hose, taking a bath. And to me, I got this idea, we're living in the kind of margins of society. We're kind of a marginal existence, and even though New York is really identifies itself with the art world, but most artists live in the city like mice. That was the idea. And if you know anything about mice, they only run around the outside of the room. They never run across the middle. They just take what they need. They hope that it's not going to bother you. They just want to coexist and do their thing, and that's kind of how I saw the artists as being. We want to coexist and do the thing, but of course we have these grand designs in our mind, but the reality is we have this kind of marginalized existence. So I thought this would kind of, in a sense, demonstrate. I knew somebody who built a fake wall in their studio and basically carved off a section of their studio before they gave it back to their landlord, and had a secret entrance and was living inside this hidden room in a building, and got away with it for a while. That I really got the idea was I was in Poland, and they'd forgotten that I had a show at the museum, and they didn't have a museum space for me, but they had an obligation to show me. So I said, don't worry, we'll do things like I started putting things in the hallways, and I used video cameras to show the artwork, and you come back to these monitors in a sort of a broom closet, and that was the idea of improvising and finding this other way around things, just using the edges and the margins, and that's how that happened.
Okay, I understand that you also left your quarters in this project at night occasionally to forage for food, materials, and mating opportunities. How'd that work out for you?
It was necessary. It was necessary. Yeah, but well, it usually meant that I went to the bar.
Okay.
So yes, my plan was to live in the space 22 hours a day and have 2 hours a day to get stuff. And one of the main reasons was Pierogi didn't have somebody to take care of me, so there was no one to go get me food and do my laundry and stuff like that. God. So I had to, it's kind of a one-man operation.
So every once in a while, literally, you would leave for 2 hours and then go back.
Yeah. Actually, one day I had to actually go get a friend and take him to the drunk tank.
The Downtown Body Project?
That's only one of the projects.
That is, okay.
That's the one that most of them are timelines. Most of the time, that's the element that seems to be pretty consistent. There's a couple that aren't. That your work was dematerialized.
Right.
And in some way, it was to get out of the capitalist market, and also the patronage of the rich person, and it was kind of a do-it-yourself kind of thing, and it was to be less materialistic was seen as a good thing. That was, but it has its blowback, which is that there's nothing left when you're done. Often I have to pay for it. I very often lose money on all these things. I've never made any money on it, to tell you the truth. Maybe $500 as an honorarium, but usually that's taken up and certainly lost because I'm living in it for 5 weeks, for instance. So it's nothing. But I want to do them because I love it. It's a privilege. In fact, it should be easier. It should be better. But the thing is that the diagrams people come to me for. They line up for them. Well, I wish they lined up for them. But I've sold one to the Whitney Museum last year, and
it seems like you've really hit it with this.
Well, I have. I would say that I'm happy about it. Yeah, I'm happy about it.